friends, my name is Julie. I live in California and I'm an embroidery artist. My art comes not from a dark place. It's not about stress and anxiety or me feeling bad. It's about joy, love for life and gratefulness. When I do my embroidery, I feel happy, and this is what matters for me the most.
Hi, welcome to Fiberchats. My name is Irina, I'm the host here. My guest today is Julia Shore from Natural Minimalism. Hi, Julia, welcome to my...
Hi.
Well, you caught my eye on Instagram because you use a lot of natural materials. It's not simply embroidery, like you create materials out of clay, you use make lichens, you create things with moss, with beads, with yarn, with you felt. There's like a lot of techniques that going on your page there. How did it all start?
I'm very thankful you invited me to chat about it because I think all the fiber arts and everything people started to do now isn't getting a lot of attention. So I think you're doing a very great job because we used to like traditional art and we call it art, and some people kind of think is it some kind of craft or they just don't want to call it art. And I think when I got started with this, I think it's like a real art because you just use different mediums, and a lot of people are just not used to it. And I started with simple embroidery. It was like that. I just had the plain tote bag, and I thought, okay, let's make it more colorful, more interesting. And I started. I even don't know. I just went to Michael's, and the first thing that got my attention was threads. It was so colorful, and it was like so interesting. And I understood that I like texture.
Right.
And I started with threads. And then, of course, when you go to get more, you see like some beads, yarn, and all of this gives you different texture, different volume, different like shine. And I started to get more and more different materials. And I realized I like something like 3D, some play of texture. And I got on Etsy and I saw like silk cocoons and wool and all of this natural fibers, moss, and somehow all of this connected into something I'm doing right now. But the journey wasn't like easy and obvious. But I really think all of these materials by themselves are very interesting. So
like what in your opinion, right? What divides arts and crafts? What's becoming like art form and what's craft?
yeah, I think it's actually a very interesting question. And I think we probably could talk about it like hours and hours. And this is really interesting to see at what point a craft becomes an art piece, or at what point something you are doing is like becoming an art. First, I think is what you think by yourself, like how you perceive it by yourself. If you like to call it craft, then it will be craft. Even if it's art and everybody will tell you, oh no, it's an art piece, you call it craft. And second is when other people start to see value in your work, or they kind of start to see that you can maybe somehow transform your thoughts or your feelings into an art piece, then it's not anymore craft. When maybe you just don't make it because you need something to use, like if you will sew yourself like a dress, or maybe like make a handbag because you need it, then it's craft, I think.
Right.
And when you make it because you feel like you have to make it and you have something to say with it, then it's an art piece, I think, maybe.
Right. Well, how was it for you? Like, when was that light bulb moment when you woke up and you said, you know what, I'm an artist?
You know, it wasn't easy because for a very long time I thought like art is something you see in the museum, like Picasso and all of these amazing people we are kind of grew up to admire in school. We used to learn about them. And I couldn't say I'm an artist. I couldn't say that something that I am making is an art piece. I thought like, okay, it's some form of my creative expression. I couldn't call it art for a very long time. But then I just realized, what if I will try and say I'm an artist? Because when somebody says I'm an artist, you kind of have the whole concept behind it. Like it's a very creative person, probably like a little bit crazy and all of this. But you know, I think it's transforming right now. And artist, it's not anymore like about craziness or suffering or being like emotionally unstable. I think artist is like a person who sees regular things that we used to see every day and can make out of them something incredible, something we're not expecting to see, and has some intention behind it. Like when you don't make it like without any thought, when you put the thought into it and you want to say something.
Well,
So I think
let's talk about your thought process. How new inspirations strike you? Like you look at moss and suddenly you're thinking, oh, it's a great thing to embroider with. Like, how does that happen?
yeah, actually, it's very interesting because when I started to get more followers, they asked me this question very often, and I just said to myself, "Stop! I don't even know myself how it happens." And I tried to kind of recap this process, and it's very interesting. I'm living not right now in California, and it's like a very the place that is very close to the nature. You have lots of parks and lots of green, and I'm just walking and I see some kind of texture, some kind of like colors, and then I take maybe a picture of it or just like think, oh, it's beautiful, and then I come back home, and that's a very tricky process because I have lots of supplies. Even right now I have here like different beads on my table, like all everything, and I just look at it and I just kind of look and see these shapes, these textures, and I try to like lay down, like here I started something, I just put some moss and a little bit of beads, and I kind of look at it. Do I like it? Does it like take me somewhere? And then I just don't know at what moment the idea forms, because I don't have any sketches and nothing like I work with. I just start to add more, maybe just take off something. That's how it goes. It's a very interesting question.
Do you find it frustrating at times? Because when you look at nature, right, it seems so perfect. Like even if you take a photograph, right, there is all this, like you see with your eye all the variations of colors, but then you take a picture and somehow you lose half of the colors and you lose half of the textures, and it's frustrating to like trying to recreate it because you have your memory of it, you have your fantastical ideas that don't even exist, and then you like the eyes of the flowers, right, the orchids
Yeah.
that you did, and then there is the actual like technique and color and how to bring to life like the idea that you have. Like, do you ever struggle with implementing your ideas?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Yeah, you have very good questions because when you start, you don't think about it and you just um, try to do something, and it does, as you said, and it doesn't look as you want it to look or as you pictured in your head, and you get mad or frustrated or think like it will not take you anywhere. But with time, when you start to do it like professionally and you try to just learn yourself, learn about your process, you start like realizing maybe it doesn't have to look exactly like the picture you have in your mind, or like the picture you saw outside. It just has to like you, like provoke some feelings inside you, inside other people's heart, or maybe should be like interesting for your eyes. And that's how I discovered beads, because like when you walk in the morning and you see this dewy leaves, and it doesn't look dry, but when you look like use only thread or yarn, it looks a little bit dry. It looks like something artificial. But then when I started to add beads, or when I started to make my own like clay things, and I discovered glazing that gives this shine, it kind of helped me. So I think it's just a journey, and you have to discover all the materials and find some way to express what you have, like what feeling you have, and it will take time. It's not easy.
Let's talk about that journey, because you went from just playing with beads and just playing with yarn to like making it a business. How was that journey?
Oh, that wasn't easy. That wasn't easy because, first of all, it's not like your regular type of business when you like buy something or resell it or produce something. This is creative process, and you kind of have to be mindful that you still have to be an artist. Like, don't make only like custom pieces or something that people expect you to make, but also like innovate something new. But from the other side, you have to also calculate and kind of. My problem was that I was making things, and I put so much effort into it that I was so tired in the end that I didn't have any energy to promote it. And I just put one picture out there in the Instagram, put like 3 hashtags, and of course I got like 5 likes, and I thought, okay, nobody needs it, like nobody likes it. And I couldn't think that probably just enough people didn't see it, like only small amount of people saw it. And some of them, of course, it's not possible that everybody will like your work. You have to find like specific niche, and I couldn't understand it. I thought like, okay, nobody saw it and nobody needs it. And promotion is very important aspect. And I think also you just have to be, I know this word, like a little bit stubborn, like do something, keep doing, even without any response. And this is the hardest part. That was like the hardest part for me.
So how did you learn? Because like a lot of people that I interview struggle with just that, right? It's one thing to be an artist. It's one thing to be innovative, creative, come up with an idea that doesn't exist, execute it perfectly, take a good picture even, right? But it's another whole thing to like create that audience and create that fan base and find your customers. How did you go about that? How did you figure that out?
It wasn't easy. It was very long. It took me like 3 years to even like realize my own value. Like, yeah, I made something, but I thought if nobody likes it, then it's like not worth it. I guess it's also being an artist, you have to work really hard on your own like mental health, and just realize that some processes will happen. Like, it will be time when you will have no ideas and you will feel terrible. It will be time when some picture will pick up, like Instagram will just randomly give you a try, give you a chance, and more people will see it and you will get more attention. But then after like a month, it will go back to like normal. And it's very tricky journey, because you can say you're doing it for yourself or you're just being creative, but in the end we all are doing this for other people. Like everything, even what you do, you kind of like it, but you still do it for other people. And of course you want other people to see your videos and like get involved with fiber arts and all of this. So same for artists. You still want people to like it. You still want to find like this audience, but you have to just know that it will take time, and it will take like time even to figure out how to promote it, because it's very tricky. Like when you just say, okay, I'm doing embroidery or I'm doing like anything, it's like a lot of people do it. What is like special about you? And it takes time. And of course everybody wants to have like overnight success,
Right.
but I think it's even better when it takes more time, because during this time you will realize yourself what are you about, like why you make it, what you want to like say with it. Because when it's like overnight you kind of wow, but then you kind of feel also, what if next collection will fail, and what is like only for one day success. It's like a lot of emotions and feelings go into it, and you have to kind of look it from the side, like from the side, okay, like almost as if it's not happening to you but to somebody else.
You know what's
Like
interesting? I was interviewing a good friend of mine, Dr. Srini Pillai, and he's a psychiatrist, and he wrote a book about the power of unconscious mind. Uh, so we talked just about that, like the creator's burnout and how you have to observe your emotions from the side. That was like his advice. So you're very wise in how you approaching it. How do you scrape yourself from the floor, like when things go wrong, when like people come up with negative, some criticism, or when they receive an order and something is not to their liking, or like whatever, all these tough things that you have to deal with in your business? How do you find motivation to continue?
I think ultimately it's not about like motivation, because when I started, I I watched so many videos about like motivation and how to, you know, get through these tough times. But ultimately, I think that you have to realize you will have it. I thought like all of these great people or people who are like um, very mindful, they just don't have the situations. But the thing is, it's not about not having it. It's like to know how to deal with it. And I think all people, everybody will have different mechanisms. I just know that sometimes I have to like stop doing it and like almost pretend it doesn't exist in my life, like when I don't have inspiration, or when I just know this, it comes like I'm making something and I don't like this and I like that, and I just stop and say, okay, for this like couple of days I will be just mom. I will have like my regular family stuff, and I will watch YouTube videos, and I will scroll through Instagram, read some books, and I pretend that it doesn't exist in my life. I will not even come up like on the second floor where I have my studio. I will just leave it there. And then when I come back, like something magical happens. I just look at the same thing and I think, oh, actually, if I will add this or maybe just move this to this side, it will look kind of good.
Well,
And
let
I
me
noticed
ask you
it.
something. So some of your pieces are like really large, and some of your pieces are those like tiny little miniatures. And from the look of it, it's not necessarily that the larger pieces take longer. And sometimes it looks like your miniatures would take forever because there's like so many details, so many beads. Like it just looks like it's very time consuming. How do you decide in terms of business, right? How much artistic freedom you allow yourself, because sometimes you can make a large piece that you can probably sell for more money that would take much less effort than something tiny that was going to take you hours. How do you decide what you're going to make next?
Actually, that's a good question. You have so many good questions, and it's so interesting. It's like almost a session with your like psychotherapist, and you have this question, and it's very good because when somebody asks you this question, you kind of think, okay, how is it? Um, Sometimes some of my collections, I just think I tried many different options. I tried to make something that will kind of sell, because I saw like the interest, and I just realized some elements just draw attention, and if I will use more of that, the collection will be more successful. Sometimes I just make something I want, and of course it's hard when you think actually it looks pretty good, but this is the only thing that is just not selling. Something you thought, it's like, wow, actually it's something new, it must be a hit. It's not. But sometimes you make something really random and people really like it, and you don't even know why, because you thought it's not like my best work. It's really tricky. But I realized I had a very like busy period of time when I got a lot of commissions and requests to make work over and over again. And I just realized if I will do that, I will get stuck. If I will do only things that people request. But from the other side, if you will do only experiments, you have to have this financial basis. So you have to find the balance. Of course, I cannot like make only new pieces and only experimental art, because I have to secure like my to I'd like to be financially free and make like anything,
Well, what
like
would it be
crazy
like
stuff.
if you were financially free, if you had all the money in the world, right? And all the
Yeah.
time in the world. Is there like an idea in your head of what you would create?
It is. I think now I'm going more from like something flat, like although it was like 3D, but something you put on the wall, to some kind of sculpture, something that you can put like on the shelf, or like something existing, not on the wall. And um, I think probably if I would like do some giant mossy sculptures, but not from like only real moss, and incorporating different elements, something, yeah, something big is in my head, but I know I have to find time for it, and also like space, because my studio is quite like small
Right.
for my like for my work that I make right now. It's perfect, but for something bigger. And I also think about, collaboration with other artists. That would be interesting for me. Um, yeah, but I definitely think with something bigger, something just because when I think about it, I ask myself, okay, how will I ship it if somebody will buy it? Like it's very hard to ship. Or every time I make something, I ask myself, okay, is it will I be able to photograph it? Because I made like recently 2 pieces, and they look really beautiful in real life, but it's so hard to capture it. It's like impossible.
Right.
They look flat on the pictures. They look like some dark spots, and you cannot see the details. So it's also important to ask yourself, if you sell online, is it like picture ready? Is it like, are you able to make a good picture? Also, another thing, can you ship it? Because sometimes you make something and it looks beautiful, but if you will put it in the box and the box will be like shaking like this by USPS worker or UPS worker, will it come as you made it? So there are a lot of questions that go into it. And yeah, it's interesting how it all goes, because if you will do something and if you really like it, you will find the way. You will find the way. But I think what I also want to do, I want to do something in person, maybe like some installation, or maybe some kind of, collaboration with other artists here in California, because I think like what I do, it looks so much better in person.
Right.
And it took me time to learn how to photograph it. and it's another aspect, like these videos on Instagram. Hi, I am artist, but I'm also photographer. I'm also a product manager. I'm also this and this, and
Well,
it's so hard.
talking about that, you're also a YouTuber and you post
Yeah.
tutorials on your YouTube and you also do some classes. What was that journey like? What made you want to teach? And is it possible to teach what you do?
Um, yeah, I started my YouTube channel because I just wanted um to share with other people how you can do something, because I got some questions on Instagram and I thought, okay, if people are interested, so I will post the videos. And I did it for like a year or maybe two, but now I stopped and I don't know where to take my like YouTube channel, what I want to do with it, because I realized I just don't want to post tutorials. That's not when I'm getting more and more into art, and it's like I realize it's not the technique that like is interesting to me, something else. And I don't know what, but I recorded some classes and I also had a collaboration with some other platforms that I recorded classes for, and I think it's a good start, but it's definitely not something I want to do like full time.
Right.
And because I think it's like so limited. Yeah, it's nice to show the technique, but it's, I don't know, it's not something I want to do full time. And I don't know what to do with my YouTube channel, because I think I really like something like you have, like discussing something, but then I think, who would listen to me like discussing something,
So I think
all
it's
of
the
this.
same way, like as you said,
Yeah,
who would buy my art? It's the same thing. Like who would
it's the
listen
same
to?
thing, but ultimately I appreciate a lot what you do, because I think it's so important you find amazing people and you ask really good questions. It's not like, because I had like interview before, and it was like person who like even didn't look at my Instagram, and the questions were so random, like, oh, oh,
What's your favorite color?
what is your yeah, what are your favorite material, what are your favorite color? I'm just like, okay, it's like kind of my son has in preschool, like the questions,
Well, I
that's
actually
why
have similar question. So a lot of your pictures on Instagram feature plants. There's like a picture of you with monstera leaf on your face.
yeah.
How much inspiration you draw from nature? Like, is it all nature inspired, or do you sometimes go like being driven by technique?
uh yeah, it's a very good question. Once again, I have to say it every time. uh I really like nature, I really like plants and anything green. um and I recently just thought about it, because when I started, of course, and I think this is um maybe not the problem, but the thing with all people who start, we look up to some other people, some other creations. Like, of course, you go on Instagram and you find somebody who has like a 300 k followers, and you look up to this person and you look at the work and think, oh, this is like really cool. And maybe you even try to imitate it on or take some elements. But then when you go deeper, if you like are strong enough to go deeper and just not stop at this moment, you will go like to the next level and get inspiration from like random things, not from other people's work or from, I mean, even looking at some like pictures like Mona Lisa or something, but go deeper and look at some random stuff like fallen leaf on the ground in a puddle, and how it kind of looks wet but also shiny and all of this. And then you start, like, I think you go on the other level and you start to see inspiration in some random stuff, like even color combinations. Sometimes you just put something on the couch and you think, oh, it's interesting. Couch is kind of like a little bit like soft and fluffy, and this thing on the couch looks really like sharp or shiny, and all of this. So not only like strictly from the nature. And I was talking about it on my Instagram a lot, I get inspiration from materials. I had a very strange stage, probably we all have it. And looking at your background, I see you also had it. Like when I collected like lots of supplies, because I kind of know I want to make something, but I wasn't sure what exactly. So I collected beads, like all different fabrics, yarn, and I thought, my God, I'm getting crazy. It's like, and I'm doing nothing with it. I'm just looking at it. But then I realized I will just put this fabric against this yarn and some beads, and it also inspires me. So the materials itself, and I started to invest in some good quality materials and support like small businesses on Etsy, because previous I used to go just to Michael's, and that's okay because when you start, Michael's is an amazing place. They have everything, and you at least can figure out what is interesting for you, yarn section or bead section or like anything else. So I think materials itself, like supplies, inspire me too. It's
Well,
a complex.
can you tell right now like what's interesting for you at this point? Because I see like so many different fiber arts in every single piece of yours that it's like, is there this borders between the felting or the embroidery or the, like, I mean, you're doing so many things and it's all coming together in your pieces.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I learned all of these techniques. Like the first, I started with embroidery, and I did that, but then I realized it's just lacking something. It just doesn't give me the maybe volume or texture I want to have. And I started to learn by myself, like felting, needle felting, tapestry, all of this different techniques. And of course, I bought lots of like tools, and I thought, oh my God, I'm getting crazy. But then I realized now I make something totally my own because I combined all of these techniques, and maybe I don't use this material right. Like some person who is specialist in needle felting will say, oh, this is so wrong what you're doing. But I kind of have an idea, maybe like feeling I want to get, and I look at these materials and techniques and think, what will give me the best result? That's how I started to make my own clay, this lichen or kind of different beads, because I wanted something, but how can I make it? If I will just embroider it, it will look flat and not interesting. If I will make it out of wool, I cannot, because it's like so tiny, and I'm afraid I will just poke my hand. And then I just tried clay, because that's what you do. You go to like some craft store and you see a section, oh, what is this? Okay, let's try that.
Right.
And I think now I want to discover more like sculptural world and try to figure out. I have a couple of ideas, but I know a lot of them will just fail, and so I don't even like talk about them. And I used to this process of like failing, because lots of ideas you try and they just fail. You just fail because it doesn't look as good, or like with time you see and it will just go down, and you're like, oh my God, cannot like stay straight. So yeah,
Well,
it's
like
just try
talking,
and
like
fail.
you mentioned museums few times and art. If you had to put one of your pieces in the museum, do you have one that like you're super proud of and you think this was like your masterpiece?
Yeah, I think interestingly, I would like to put it not in the like art museum, but in like natural history museum. I recently been to one in Los Angeles, and they have like an amazing section of minerals, and this is something I'm getting involved into. I started my own little collection of like specimens, and I realized that a lot of my works, they kind of resemble minerals. They are shiny, and I think I would put like a couple of my works I'm proud of into like natural history museum, or some kind, not like strictly art museum, but I think we all have to work on this like popularization of the concept of fiber art, that you can use different stuff. Even like some people create amazing paper art, like they can cut it and but like for example, my mom, she would say, oh yeah, that's a nice craft. She always says that, like, oh, good job, you crafted something, because she just has a concept that real art, this is something on the wall painted with like
Oil paint.
regular paint. Yeah, oil paint. Yeah. And especially she even doesn't really like something abstract. I think even to understand abstract art, like traditional abstract art, it is like a step forward. But to understand that some people embroider or use fibers or wool,
Well,
people
talking
think,
of your
yeah.
mom, right, and the family in general, your friends, what's their reaction to you suddenly becoming an artist?
It was surprisingly good. My mom told me something like, "Oh yeah, you always were doing something in your bedroom." Like I didn't like embroider specifically, but I always was like involved with some kind of craft and was making something. And I remember I was even selling like in the school markets or something, uh, my stuff. My husband, he is also a creative person, so he was very supportive. He told me like, okay, go with it. And it really helped me also to cope with like this first year when you like have a newborn and you kind of lose yourself at this little person, because you have to be like every second there for this little child. And it helped me also to get past like, this weird stage where you think, but who I am, like, okay, I'm mom now, and that's it. Is it like everything I can do? So he was very supportive. But a lot of friends that are not like involved with some creative stuff, they just think I'm crafting and I'm just like this, uh what do you say, like not weird, but like this funny girl that crafts something, like, oh, look what I made.
And you
They
find sometimes, because like I had this conversation with a bunch of people that were guests of my channel, that oftentimes, like one of the reasons why we start Instagram, right, is
Mhm.
to connect with strangers, because they get us better, they understand us better, they appreciate our art better than some people that we know that live in our neighborhoods. And it's like easier to market yourself, easier to find support, even easier to find moral support, easier to find connection sometimes with total strangers from across the world than with your own family and friends. Like, do you feel that?
Yes, definitely. But we all have different interests. And it's the same. My mom, she likes cooking, for example, and she will tell me about this fancy recipe she found. And it's not my interest. I'm just like, okay, if you will make something for me, yeah, we'll appreciate it. Yeah, it's nice, it smells good, or it looks good. But I'm not as involved in discussion. That's why, of course, she has one friend that she discuss all the recipes, or what do you think if we will add this or this? And that's how it goes. Like we all have different interests, and that's okay. The thing is, you just have to realize in one moment, maybe you have to like go on Instagram and think, like, open yourself. Like if somebody, your family or maybe your neighborhood, doesn't see value in it or doesn't find it interesting or worth to, like, making or spend time making this, go to the next level, because it doesn't mean it's not interesting or it's not worthy. It just means that people have different interests and you have to find it. And I remember one of my friends on Instagram, I never met her in real life, she said, yeah, it took me like less time and effort to sell my stuff to 100 random people than my friend order it like for the birthday or for some other people. They just don't get it, and that's okay too. But unless it stops you, like, and you think, oh, if my mom doesn't like it, if even my mom doesn't like it, I will not make it now.
Right. What's your relationship with social media? Like, do you look at it as just a marketing tool? Do you meet friends there? Like, what do you see it as?
It changed because when I started, I just wanted to show my work and find maybe people who, will also like it and just discuss, this exciting things. Oh, I found this new yarn, or I tried this. Then I thought, okay, it's actually helping me to sell my stuff. And I think I kind of started to use it as like means to sell my product, and I lost a little bit this connection and this fun part about it. It was stressing me out so much. Like, I was checking out how many people saw this picture, and it was like 100. I'm just like, oh my god, I failed. And it's so hard because it's something new we all are like learning to navigate, and to realize it's not real. It's not like real life. It's, let's say, it's a kind of different world. And if people don't like it, it doesn't mean they don't like it. They just didn't see it. Like Instagram, they say like, okay, if you will pay us $100, we will show it to 1,000 more people. That's how it is. But now I think I finally see it as a good place to connect with people, and to maybe also learn something new about people who are following me, and kind of discuss stuff, and also nice opportunity to meet new people like I met you. And it's not like solely place where you sell. You can connect with other creators, with other people. And it's interesting because I was thinking recently, okay, if like 50, even like 15, but okay, let's take it even further, like 50 years ago I made this, and how somebody would know it. I would like show to my friends and family, and they say like, what is it? Oh my god, go like do some stuff in the kitchen or go to normal work. And now you have this amazing opportunity. Everybody has to just make something you like and transform it into your job, or even like earn money, and earn decent money, and earn a lot of money. Like when you will see on Instagram, some people are just filming their lives, or they're filming, recently my son showed me the YouTube channel where a girl, she just put dominoes into like shapes, and just and it, and she has like millions of followers, millions of views, because people kind of, it's exciting because somebody did it. You would never do this like for 20 hours, and you will watch it, and she is like famous. And this is the main, for me, this is, I see it as something good, as long as you know how to deal with it. I don't think it's like real world. Like,
Right. Do you feel like you're living your dream?
I I definitely appreciate a lot of what I'm having right now, but I also kind of notice that that is something I want to work on. That I'm always seeking like for the future, like, okay, but when I will have this, then it will be nice. When I will have this, and I always go through this process. And this year I decided to just slow down and say to myself, like, okay, now I'm having this, and that's fine, that's completely okay. And I have to find like appreciate it, because I always was like, okay, that's nice, but when I will do this will be better. But then I realized, okay, now I'm doing it, and I don't feel like that I'm completely satisfied, and it will never come unless. And I read some interesting quote that says, if you're not satisfied right now, you will never be. It's like,
Just starting the 2023, and usually like at the beginning of the year, people have the new year resolution, everybody starts going to the gym, everybody starts watching what they eat, and then it all falls apart eventually. Do you have any resolution for this year? Do you have any big plans?
yeah, actually, interesting was that I decided to have no big plans. I decided just have small, because I used to put like a big goal, and I will go towards it. And unless I will reach it, I think everything was like, eh, like why I did it. Oh, I failed. And now I decided I will put like small goals, and I will just learn more about myself and my process, how I do this, how I cope with these situations, and be in the moment. This is actually what is the toughest thing, just to enjoy the life how it is. And if you will enjoy the life how it is, you will be so much happier and appreciate like little things. And yeah, and I'm interested, what was your resolution for 23?
My resolution was to challenge myself and like break all the fear that prevents me from trying new things.
Yeah,
Things that I think might be difficult technically or otherwise. So I'm just
got out of comfort zone.
right.
Yeah.
I'm just going that way.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because sometimes you will do it and you will see actually it was not that difficult.
Right.
That yeah, yeah, we're all competing with our minds, because that's crazy how they rule our life, and we think
Yeah, it's
it's
all
like
our fear is what prevents us from achieving what we want to achieve, basically.
yeah, yeah. That
Well, I want
yeah,
to thank you for being my guest today. I really enjoyed our conversation and getting to know you better.
yeah. I also I'm very thankful you invited me, and I really liked it, and I think you are like one of the best prepared people I ever met, because you really are interested in the person you're interviewing, because I was watching some other interviews and I really appreciate it, and I wish you the best luck, and I hope your channel will get a lot of attention, because it's like very important thing.
Thank you. Thank you, Julia.